All right, welcome back. Now, one of the most popular tactics among white supremacists is to lie about being a white supremacist. They are on code in their denial of being a racist. And that's how I look at Charlie Kirk. I never really listened to the guy until after he was unalived. And I see why he never grabbed my attention, because it's just the usual talking points from white supremacists. I've always said white supremacists, they are not that bright. In fact, they are more slow than anything. And I don't understand how they acquire so much clout. People like Charlie Kirk. This guy was going around the country to different campuses, and he would attract huge crowds of people. For what? For sounding like an ignorant, low IQ racist. Which tells you a lot about how low the bar has been set here in the United States. Now, before we move on, let's have a quick listen to this Keisha right here.
You don't serve the same God as me anytime you can get online and celebrate the death of a man who gave his unsolicited opinion just like you do. To fix your mouth and make jokes about this man losing his life, this man was a husband, this man was a father. But to sit up and laugh and make jokes about it when you...
No. To feel motivated to make a video trying to chastise Black Americans for making jokes about a man who spread racism, pure racism. And Charlie Kirk tried to be slick with his racism. He tried to come across as if, no, I'm just stating facts. No, I'm just relaying history to you. And low IQ people fall for it. For you to feel motivated to get up here and try to chastise Black Americans for making jokes about a degenerate racist. This guy, Charlie Kirk, was a degenerate racist. First of all, Charlie Kirk, who are you and who is white people, period, to be going around giving lectures about Black people's behavior as if you all are a bunch of angels? Take that energy, Mr. Kirk. Had I been able to talk to this dude, take all that energy and focus on the community that you belong to. Fix your own community. Then, after you lead by example by being a bunch of angels with high morals, then you can come lecture to us. But to have someone from an equally, if not more, degenerate group try to be a lecturer to us, beat it. And this is a good case study to find out who are the mammies. Because you got a lot of chicks, and believe it or not, this broad projects herself, because I recognize her, as some type of pro-black black male supporter. I told you, you got to watch out for these broads. Many of them are just trying to ride the wave. But in their heart and mind, they're Brad worshipers. Through and through, Brad worshipers. Now let's deal with some of the comments made by Charlie Kirk. Because Charlie Kirk used to project himself as some debater. As if, oh, I cannot lose in a debate. Go ahead and question me on the things that I say. Okay. You got the right one. And the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems I have with Charlie Kirk is his stance on reparations. Salute to those who are in attendance. Listen to this.
I oppose reparations of all form and all sorts because every racial ethnic group in this room could point to some part in the last 100 years, probably in their bloodstream, that was oppressed, that they could claim reparations.
No. Reparations are not owed simply because someone in my family was oppressed. Reparations are not owed for simple oppression. They are owed because slavery and the Jim Crow era, first and foremost, was a systematic way of impoverishment to rob. That's what slavery was all about. Taking labor, ideas, ingenuity away from Black Americans and keeping it for themselves and benefiting from it from themselves and passing those benefits down to their offspring. Fool, what are you talking about? That's what slavery was all about. It was about not paying these people for doing a whole bunch of work. Not paying on a generational level, fool. They kill me how they act slow. They try to act slow when it comes to reparations. So what they end up doing is lying. This ain't about mere oppression. Now, after slavery ended, what did you have? What's the first thing to start popping off from white America? Black code laws. What was the purpose of those black code laws that eventually became Jim Crow laws? It was to impoverish and continue to rob Black Americans. That means over multiple generations, rather than our ancestors passing wealth, passing patents, homes, land, down to their great-grandchildren, they passed nothing. And then after the 60s, guess what Black America was forced to do? Start from scratch. Because each generation had been robbed. What are you talking about, you slow fool? I don't have no mercy on none of these racists. I don't care if you're alive or dead. This man dedicated his life to spitting on all of our ancestors, period. That's how I look at them. Urinating on their graves, on our history, on our legacy, and trying to minimize everything that we've been through. I ain't showing sympathy to nobody like that. You better get your head examined.
Could claim reparations. Any Jewish Americans here? Any Asian Americans here? Any Irish Americans here? So on.
These people do collect reparations. What are you talking about? People like Charlie Kirk, they start saying things like this only when it pertains to Black Americans. He literally got up here and said nothing about the fact that we already are paying reparations for other people. Other people have already received and still do receive reparations. And those other people have not gone through even a fraction. They have not been impoverished and systematically robbed, generationally robbed. The very first generation of Black America robbed. Their kids robbed. Their kids robbed. In each generation, black Americans were coming up with ideas to improve these white people's businesses, to make all kinds of improvements, coming up with inventions, only to have them stolen so that the white people, the plantation, so that they could benefit. And all of white America, period, benefited from slavery because they all partook from the inventions and businesses created by the slave masters and had benefits within those systems, being the first hired, last fired, being unqualified, and being allowed to be hired and elevate social mobility regardless. Y'all don't want to hear this nonsense. These weak objections to reparations. It's sad that it wasn't more people out here putting this dude in check.
And so forth. You asked the question, do you have a moral obligation to try to...
This ain't about morals, fool. You notice how they always start talking about morals as if we're making a moral request or a moral demand. This got to do with business. Y'all robbed multiple generations of our people. With as much as black Americans contributed to the creation of this country, almost all black Americans should have inherited a home, should have had an inheritance. We should have had a leg up as soon as we were born, but instead, your community had a leg up. The community who was robbing our people. If you don't get out my face, and you got Negroes, bootlicking Negroes out here caping for this dude.
Right the wrong by taking from now and redistributing. I say absolutely not. The best way to right the wrong...
Ain't nobody taking for... And again, you're not complaining about reparations being paid to other people. You don't care. You only care when reparations is going to black Americans. Now listen, let me back this up. Listen to what this fool says.
By taking from now and redistributing. I say absolutely not. The best way to right the wrong is to protect freedom and to expand opportunity through things.
Protect freedom. The way to right the wrong is to stop enslaving them. In other words, you right the wrong by just being a normal person. Protect freedoms. That's nothing but a bunch of babble. Oh, we'll give you reparations for generational robbery. We'll just protect your freedom. Continue, Kirk. Let's hear some more.
And to expand opportunity through things like school choice.
Just allow them to go to any school they want. That's reparations. The best and easiest way to find out if you're dealing with a racist, ask them about reparations for black Americans. That's the number one question to ask. I'm telling you, they cannot hide their racism when they're confronted with that question, with that subject.
Charitable giving through deregulating the economy, encouraging entrepreneurship.
Listen to that. A bunch of nothing. You respond to generational robbery by encouraging entrepreneurs. What are you talking about, fool? You don't get out my face. And this proves that he was doing nothing but putting on the act.
In the economy, encouraging entrepreneurship, and putting black fathers back in the house.
Wait, what was that?
I oppose and opportunity through things like school choice, through charitable giving, through deregulation.
Charitable giving? Make that charitable giving a check. But you know he ain't talking about no check. He talking about a fruit basket. Huh? He talking about welfare cheese, government milk. You talking about charity.
Giving through deregulating the economy, encouraging entrepreneurship, and putting black fathers back in the house.
Putting black fathers back in the house? Who took them out? And what kind of statement is that? Put black fathers back in the house. Why aren't you saying the same thing about white fathers? Huh? Who took the fathers out of the house? Now, if you know your history on Charlie Kirk, he believes that black fathers made the decision and make the decision to simply abandon their kids. So how can you simply put them back in the house if you also say that they abandoned their kids? This dude wasn't even consistent. And he knows full well that the welfare system was targeted at black Americans for the purpose of removing fathers from the lives of their kids. And that happened by way of those black women leaving their kids' fathers' homes. Where do you think those black women were living when this welfare system was offered? Where do you think they resided? Those black women were living in the homes of black men. What does that mean, fool? That means your Section 8 voucher will not work for the home that you are currently in. What does that mean? That means, black woman, if you want to benefit from this Section 8 and these food stamps, you have to move into one of these apartments. You have to move into this home. It may take you 5-10 years before you can get in there. You got to leave your kids' fathers. What are you talking about? These people, they play dumb when it comes to black America. And I find it funny that this guy used to go around to college campuses trying to welcome a debate. Why would you challenge kids? He was real slick about that, right? You don't want to challenge seasoned adults with experience. You don't want to challenge people who your age. No, your focus was to challenge kids, college students. That's pathetic. Yeah, but you did that for a reason.
So you feel like us as a society has pandered?
Of course we pander to blacks. They're in every...
He says the country panders to blacks. Typical racist talking point. Now listen to his examples.
Of course we pander to blacks. They're in every TV commercial.
No, we're not. Black people are not in every TV commercial. And how is putting a black person in a commercial pandering to blacks? Only a white racist who believes that only white people should be in commercials would say something like that. True or false? You have to be literally sitting there expecting to see only white people in commercials to believe that when you see a black person that they're now pandering to black people. You know how much of a staunch racist you got to be to look at that as pandering to black people simply because a black person was on a commercial? This dude was racist at an insane level. Let him continue. How else does this country pander to black people? Go ahead and take the floor, Kirk.
Commercial. They get more privileges to come into society.
What? What kind of statement is that? This is what I'm saying. How could a slow, ignorant person making dumb, senseless comments like this get so much attention? What society are you talking about, dude? We got privilege to come into society. What does that even mean? Black Americans are not traveling into uncharted territory in societies. What are you talking about? Now, the only thing I could imagine that he's talking about is now black Americans have the right to live in a white suburb. Is that what you're talking about? Because I can't think of any closer proximity example in the real world that could match that statement. And how is that pandering to black people? To tell them, okay, black Americans, if you want to live in this miraculous suburb, you can live in this miraculous white suburb. How is that pandering to black people? He's basically saying equality is pandering to black people. He was a straight up and down racist. And if you couldn't catch on to that, you're slow. You're one of these slow Negroes out here if you didn't catch on to this. You got to be kidding me. Let's allow him to continue. Wait a minute. Before we move on, let's deal with a comment in the comment section. Somebody says, who do you want reparations from? Let me stop there. The same pot that other people get reparations from. And if you're asking that question, you know what that suggests to me? You're slow. Other groups, the Japanese, the Jews, Indians, have and still do collect reparations. Where are those reparations coming from, huh? It's coming from our tax dollars. Me personally, you, everybody who works, we have already been paying for reparations for other people for years. No complaints from people like you until those reparations are talked about being given to black Americans, the ones who are most deserving of it. He said, I came from impoverished Irish who never owned slaves. I don't care who you own, dude. You sound like an idiot. That's why you have resorted to ad hominem attacks, because you have no argument. You have no argument. Let me confirm this and finish dissecting your slowness. Wait a minute. Let me take you off. Wait a minute, what happened? Okay. I put him on timeout because I don't want you to babble while I'm responding to your comment, but it deleted. Okay, yeah, here we go. Oh no, bring your comments, white supremacists. He also said, this person in the comment section, in the chat room, also said, I came from impoverished Irish who never owned slaves. I have worked for and continue to work for every scrap and lump of coal I've ever had, dude. So have we. I've been working for over 3 decades. And what's your point? So you've had a job. What that got to do with reparations being owned to us? And I hear a bunch of these idiots making that statement. Why do you deserve reparations? I come from poverty and I've had to work for everything that I got. So? You think we all sitting over here jobless, just asking for reparations so that we can have money? You're slow. For anybody to make that assumption, you're slow. And that was a waste of typing. You did all that typing just to inform us that you've been working for a few years, that you've had a job for a few years. Whoop-de-doo. Why don't you get back to the subject of reparations? And why are you even talking? Why are you even contributing to this? This has nothing to do with you. Right? Beat it. Again, another example of people always in our business, always obsessed with us. That's what this is about. Charlie Kirk was obsessed with us. Instead of talking about the importance of getting black people to stop talking about reparations, why don't you do tours and talk to white American men about the importance of not molesting their daughters? Huh? Talk about problems that's far more prevalent among your own kind. Huh? How about that CP problem? This problem that y'all get with messing with youngsters. Why don't you go lecture your people on that? If you weren't so obsessed with us, that's exactly what you'd be doing. And don't come in here typing in no different language. Get out of here. And notice how a bunch of white folks is joining the chat room. Let's continue.
More privileges to come into society.
More privileges to come into society. Low IQ statement. It don't even make sense. We ain't got no privileges to come into no society. We in America. The society of America. Of course we're allowed to be in the country we built. Fool, that don't even make no sense.
They come into every college on preferential.
How is that pandering to black people? That we are allowed to go to any college we want. Listen to this. He's basically saying to treat blacks like normal human beings is to pander to them. So, in other words, he believes that our rightful place is as their slaves, basically.
Lower test scores, you can't ever.
And I don't even believe that. I don't believe black people get into college with lower test scores. I don't even believe that. And if we do, so what? How does that represent the downfall of America? Is the United States about to crumble because of that? You really going around colleges lecturing about that again? Why don't you get to something serious that takes place among your own group? Let's listen to these degenerates.
You can't ever say anything negative.
Yeah, you can say negative things. People say negative things about us all the time.
You can lose your job. You have your entire...
You could lose your job. Yeah. Yeah, you could. The question is, why are you so eager to say something so disrespectful to black and about black Americans that you would get fired for it? Huh? Just evil. And just can't wait to say derogatory things about black Americans. And look at it, look at their inability to say things about us and pay consequences as us being pandered to. Oh, we're pandering to blacks by not calling them nigger slaves, apes who belong in a cage. We're pandering to them by allowing them to live in any community they want. What are you talking about, degenerate? Just exposing yourself as a racist degenerate.
Entire life obliterated if you say something racist. And yet we have to hear about how racist we are?
You are a racist, fool. What are you talking about? This is y'all's hero, white America, white racist America. This is y'all's hero, another low IQ degenerate who can't even make a solid argument, going around and done that. That's sad. That our college students can't put this dude in his place, making these brain dead false accusations.
How about you take responsibility for your own actions instead of blaming the white man?
Who's blaming the white man? And who are you to tell us to take responsibility for our own? Take responsibility for your own actions. The degeneracy that comes from your community. Who are you to sit up like you some type of angel and tell us about, oh, we need to be more accountable? Get out of here. What are you talking about? I have another channel where I deal with dog culture. Do you know how degenerate dog culture is when y'all's youngsters, your youth, getting torn apart and tortured to death every single day? And your community have made laws to make this possible and to protect those responsible and not charge them at all? Do you know how many of them are in danger? Go fix your own community. And once you do that, then you can come lecture to us. Yeah, that ain't gonna fly, homie. I don't know where these people get
How
off.
about you take responsibility for your own actions instead of blaming the white man?
That's a typical trope too. That we're sitting back blaming the white man. No, we're simply pointing out your hypocrisy. You trying to point out our misbehavior. We're pointing out your misbehavior. But any type of criticism against whites, they look at it as blaming the white man. No matter what it is, no matter how legit it is, it could be a response. It could be a reply to their accusations. And they'll say, oh, you're just blaming the white man. Well, you're blaming the black man. Right? The same can be said about you.
That's not racist. That's noticing.
And let me, for the record, collectively, black Americans can blame white America for many things. So yeah, accept that. Why don't you hold yourselves accountable? Why don't you hold white America's role in the condition of black Americans? Why don't you hold them accountable for the things they're responsible for? Your refusal to do that proves you are a racist and you shouldn't be taken seriously at all. Just like the system of slavery, Jim Crow, black code laws, lynchings that were carried out largely by police officers, the bombing, the attacking of black businesses, the continued police brutality. Y'all built prisons and then created gangster rap, then goes out and over police. These police officers, they don't even go to white neighborhoods. They go straight to the black neighborhoods and pull out their binoculars and look at black people all day. So what do you expect the jails and prisons to look like when your racist white police departments operate like that? And then they go back to their white suburbs, hook up with their white opioid distributor, get high, and talk about how criminal black people are. Because you don't look at your own people as criminal. This has been proven several times. White people can commit the same crimes as black people, and it has been proven they will either not get arrested or they will get a slap on the wrist. Take accountability for that. They won't. They never do. That's the racist playbook. We should all be hip to this.
How is it the white man's fault that black men started to abandon the women?
Listen to that. I'll tell you. Because black America did not create the welfare system. Black America did not make the inhumane offer to black families saying that we will give you financial support only if you break up your family. Why wasn't welfare given to black families just like subsidies and other forms of welfare was given to white families? They never required that the white mother leave their kids' fathers. So what are you talking about? Huh? Playing dumb. You answered your own stupid question. How are you to blame? And black men were not leaving their kids. Again, y'all got to get over that stupid lie. These women were leaving the father's residence. Those Section 8 vouchers would not work with the homes that those black women were currently residing in. So they had to move into some garbage apartment somewhere where the Section 8 voucher would work. Those communities that those single black mothers were moving into became hoods, projects. So you up here making incorrect statements.
Is it the white man's fault that black men started to abandon the
And again, why are you going around talking about this? Talk about the sick stuff that go on in your community. Talk about the dark web. Huh? Talk about the heavily visited dark web, where your community promotes the worst type of degeneracy imaginable. And the victims are youngsters. And you all know exactly what I'm talking about. Huh? No, you don't look at that as a problem. You don't look at that as criminal behavior. You don't look at the criminality, degeneracy, or dysfunction that comes from your community at all. So why should we listen to you trying to give us a lecture? I'm supposed to mourn this dude, this degenerate? No, thank you.
Bigger problem.
No, blacks need to take responsibility for the women that they impregnate, not blame.
And look at this is a scary country we live in, where all of these white people feel entitled to give us moral lectures. If you don't slap yourself real fast, somebody else should. Who in the world do y'all think you are? You are a bunch of idiots on top of being degenerates. Again, worry about your own community. Y'all's marriage rate is not that high, mind you. It's not that high. It's much lower than it used to be. Why don't you go talk about that? Huh? Go talk about all your youngsters getting unalived and disfigured and mutilated, and the law giving them a slap on the wrist. Why don't you go lecture to your community about their racism? Huh? Which is inhuman. The ironic thing is, he's here spewing that exact racism that he needs to be talking about being as a problem. How ironic. How backwards.
The women that they impregnate, not blame the white man for racism.
Things affect this.
What? And of course, being a kid, he hasn't done his research, he can't properly debate Kirk. So that's a coward act to go around to college campuses challenging kids on subjects that you know they won't be well versed in. That's pathetic. And teaching them to not hold themselves accountable. Look at the projection. Always trying to tell black Americans to hold ourselves accountable. Is that what you all are doing? Are you leading by example? Because if so, I can't tell. I can't. Where are y'all leading by example? How, in what way are you holding white America accountable? And for what? Nothing at all. So you're projecting white America as a population of angels. That's simply not true. He's dependent on lies.
Things affect this.
Why didn't it affect the Asians? Why did the Asians do so well?
What is he talking about? Why didn't what affect the Asians? What is he talking about? Why do the Asians? He's comparing once again, comparing people in the hood, comparing the entire black population, the everyday black American, to immigrants. What kind of sense that make? If you do this, you can do the same thing with black Americans. Black American foreign exchange students are doing better than Chinese people over there in China living in poverty. You compare these successful Asians with the successful blacks over here, and you see no difference. So what are you talking about? Only racists take these positions. They play dumb. They overlook problems that other people have, including themselves. They overlook everything that credits black Americans. It's real simple. They're just very evil and obsessed with black Americans. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
America got less racist and the blacks got poorer because we started.
Said America got less racist and blacks got poorer. No, America did not become. They became less overtly racist and became more covertly racist. That's what happened. And what do you mean we got poorer? We did not get poorer. There were simply more black women on welfare. You separated the mothers from the fathers. So those black women who are not as work oriented, who can't do many of the things that we do, yeah, they're not going to be as wealthy as white. Listen, these are non-points, people. These are stupid, goofy talking points. And the average white man doesn't make more than that much more than the average black man. What is it, like 2,000 or 3,000 more per year that the average white man makes than the black? What are you even talking about, dude? Let him make his point.
Got less racist and the blacks got poorer because we started to subsidize single motherhood and pandering to blacks, saying,
well, oh, really? You mean your white government started to subsidize single black mothers, black women? Really? Just a few seconds ago, you asked, why are whites responsible for single black mothers? Now you just acknowledge that this white government actually did break up black families, made this immoral offer to black America, right? You deindustrialize. Black Americans didn't deindustrialize this country. And at the same time, you offer resources to black women only? Really? Not the head of the household, which would then result in those resources being distributed to his black family. This white government did not offer help to the entire family. They offered help only to black women. Only to black women and their kids. And they told them, in order to get these resources that's really owed to you all, you have to leave your kid's father. What kind of sick, immoral, demonic offer is that? And you just confess to it? Get out of here, dude. I don't want to hear nothing else you got to say. You're slow and you're degenerate. I would have said this about him when he was alive, and I'm saying it now, saying that this is the first time I'm listening to his talking points. Get out of here.
should black people get reparations?
I believe they should.
So I, white man, have to play for black people. Why?
Wow, that's a really selfish thing.
No, see, this is a young kid. That was simply a flawed argument that Charlie just made that we just went over. So he went around to these campuses making the same flawed arguments. And it kind of surprises me that nobody caught on to this. If we were to get reparations, it would come out of people's tax dollars. Just like reparations to everybody else, we have been paying for reparations for everybody. On top of reparations, we all, I'm talking about working people, we have been paying for these illegal immigrants. The money being given to Ukraine, all these illegal immigrants being legal and illegal, coming over here, and as soon as they get here, they get a credit card, they get an apartment, they get a job. We've been paying for that. And that's the same way black Americans would receive reparations, a group who actually are owed something. These illegals were owed nothing. And again, Notice how they have no complaints for that. That's not the biggest problem. They don't look at that as the biggest problem. The fact that we have paid and currently still pay for other people's reparations, dumping money in other people's accounts. No, the biggest problem in America is black people asking for reparations. Get out my face, devil. Get out. This is why I don't have no respect for white supremacists. You all bring nothing but a bunch of garbage, worthless talking points. You're the lowest degenerates on earth. Nonsense. Us demanding reparations for our vote is literally nothing. Nothing. But yet that's what has their panties most in a bunch. Do y'all know how deep you must hate a group of people to function like this? This shows you how deeply they hate black Americans, which is why we never should have integrated. Integration was a huge problem. And the people who rule society knew it. That's why they offer integration rather than equal funding, which is what we were looking for. It's nonsense. Valiant in the chat room asked, how much do you want in reparations? What's the dollar amount? Valiant, what difference does it make? Why is that even relevant? This is more time wasting tactics. How much money do you want? That ain't none of your business. You just want to know how upset and jealous to be, right? Okay, let's put a dollar. $2 million for each black American. Now what? I already know what your reply is going to be. That's too much. Oh, I would be so jealous. You would have white brads out here picking black people off if we were to receive reparations. What difference does that make? You're not asking how much these other people receive in reparations. You're not looking into that. You're not curious to how much they're receiving in reparations. And $2 million is not too much. We could have easily inherited $2 million worth of inheritance. You're talking about homes, and you're talking about other things. You're talking about people who've been robbed generationally. $2 million is not that much at all. What is you talking about? Somebody else says reparations won't fix the community. Well, let's take all those reparations we gave to other people and all that money we gave to other people. Let's just take that right on back. It's not about fixing the black community. And let me ask you this. How do you know that? How do you know that? If people who are out here robbing for money suddenly now have $1 million, you think they're going to continue to rob? How do you know money won't help black Americans? Get out of here. Why should anybody respect your little foolish theories? Huh? Beat it. You all have a chance to make your little arguments, but right now you're offering nothing but weak non-arguments.
Hold on, why should I have...
That's a really non-empathetic thing to
Wait,
say.
why should I have empathy for a race? I have white guilt because I breathe? Why should...
Okay, that didn't even make sense. We're talking about reparations. We ain't talking about empathy. Nobody cares about your feelings. Okay? We're not looking for a hug from white folk or friendship or no nonsense. We're looking for a check. That's what reparations is about. And we're not holding y'all at GUN point to get it. That's a demand to politicians for our vote. Something that's, again, none of your business. Look at how much they obsess over that. Anything black Americans do, they center it around they center their whole life around it. Dude, get a life. But this is pathetic.
Guilt because I breathe?
And nobody asking y'all to feel guilty. I don't know where y'all get that from. Y'all get that from your own sense of guilt. You need to beat it with that. That's so goofy.
Guilt because I breathe? Why should the white students here have to work harder to pay for black kids?
What do you mean work harder? And it's not just white Americans who would be paying for reparations. Nobody required to work harder, fool. And white people are not the only ones, again, who would be paying for reparations. You ain't even making no sense. This is y'all's hero. This is y'all's mega debater. This is pathetic. You can be linked up with the president sounding this low IQ. This is shocking.
Have to work harder to pay for black kids. What is that all about?
Not every black person has lineage connected to slaves,
That's
and
true.
every white person doesn't have lineage connected to slaves.
Yes, that's right. So since every black person doesn't have a lineage connected to slaves, why should we generalize and say reparations for black people?
No, again, that's not the case. Nobody's talking about reparations for non-black Americans. Literally nobody in black America is talking about that. He's way off base. Again, this is pathetic. You can't even deal with facts. This dude couldn't even be mindful of facts. He can't even be mindful of our demands. But yet you want to get up and debate about it? This is crazy.
There are people that are in a worse place.
So over 150 years, they didn't have any ability to make better decisions, to save money, and to invest. How about you?
What? What is he talking about? 150 years? He's talking about post-slavery, people. Think about that. He's talking about the Jim Crow era. Black codes. He's talking about the era when laws were made to impoverish us and put us at a permanent disadvantage, while at the same time sabotaging black businesses, even going as far as to dropping BLMBs on them. And you're saying during that era, we should have been making better decisions? Slap yourself, fool. This is y'all's white supremacist spokesman. This is that high IQ y'all talk about so much. Okay. Let's continue. I'm not impressed. Just, by the way, I'm not impressed at all.
You take responsibility for your own actions instead of blaming the white man. Should black...
Okay, again, pathetic. Charlie Kirk also used to talk about violence, and I recently had a discussion about violence with a coon, where this coon, who was brainwashed by people like Richard Spencer, Charlie Kirk, and other white supremacists, I asked him, I said, did you hear about Charlie Kirk being hit? He said, yeah. I said, wasn't it crazy how he would go around the country talking about how violent black Americans are? And this coon said, black Americans are violent. Think about that. Black Americans are violent. And I pressed him on it. I'm like, well, half the people who work here are black. They're not violent. I'm sure most of the blacks, if almost all the blacks you come across on a daily basis, they're not punching you in the face. They're not attacking you. What do you mean blacks are violent? See, when people co-sign with people like Charlie Kirk, they sound like lunatics. So then this coon said, well, I'm just talking about blacks between ages of 13 and 30. I said, okay, what percentage of blacks between 13 and 30 would you consider violent? And you would also have to define what is violent. Are you just talking about people with criminal records? And he actually said people who commit red rum, who, pull out the Roscoe and pew pew. I'm like, what? He thinks 20% of black Americans between age 13 and 30 are violent. So, when you look at the entire black population, what percentage of black Americans are you talking about? About 5%. Right? Right? You're only saying 20% of those between 13 and 30 are violent. Okay, so when you're talking about all black Americans, you're talking about what, about 5%? And I'm supposed to just sit here and allow you to define our entire population based on 5%, the actions of 5%? I don't think so. And then he was like, oh, well, that small 5% gets the most attention. I'm like, yeah, keep going. That should tell you something. That's part of the con. That's part of the hustle. To focus on this small percentage of violent black people and project all of black America as being that way. When all of these people, including Charlie Kirk, never dealt with blacks like that. Black people that you come across on a daily basis are not violent towards y'all, and you know it. That's simply a brainless, one of the most degenerate and false, inaccurate statements to make. To say that, oh, black Americans are violent. And you know why they're saying this? This is the only reason why they try to argue that blacks are violent. They say that blacks are responsible for about 50% of homicides in America, yet only make up 13% of America. That's the only thing that they hang their hat on. And that's why I try so hard to get black Americans to snap out of co-signing with that nonsense. We do not make up 13% of this country. I think the people who say that, they cannot be actually putting in any thought into it. We are far from 13% of this country. You have to believe that first in order to co-sign with it, because they're saying 13% of the population is responsible for half of the homicides. Wrong. About 50% black America, 50% of black Americans responsible for 50% of the homicides, and 50% of white Americans responsible for 50% of the homicides. I've proven it time and time again. We do not make up 13% of this country. Again, 80 to 85% of all Americans live in cities, large cities. Take your pick of those cities. Those of you who travel, do black Americans look like 13% of Philadelphia, of Detroit, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, Louisville, Memphis, Atlanta? Go on down the list. Pretty much every major city you go into in the United States, blacks make up more like half, if not more. Blacks make up 75% of Detroit. Detroit, one of the largest cities in this country. 13% of this country could not make up the majority of any large city if we were truly 13%. Where's y'all's brains at? What is going on with people's thought processes? I'm really worried about that. And I'm dead serious. I'm worried about the average person's cognitive skills. It would be impossible for us to make up the majority of multiple large cities, 50% of multiple large cities, if we were truly 13% of this country. We are not. Stop co-signing with that. Now, I'm looking for writers of this channel. I'm about to wrench a couple people up so that they can just get rid of the seriously ignorant people. Those who try to put up a serious argument and they're respectful about it, go ahead and let them stay. But the over ignorant, you just come in here name calling and stuff like that, I'm not going to waste no time with that, okay? So I'm about to wrench a couple of loyal followers up, one or two of you, and be on the lookout for more as we move on, because I can't keep doing it myself. Listen to this.
Feel about the black community receiving reparations?
I'm against that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why so?
So here's my view, and I want to hear yours.
Okay.
Which is that I did not own slaves, and you were not a slave.
Correct.
Right. So we are individuals.
Nope. The same old argument. Well, I did not own slaves. I didn't do nothing to the Japanese. I didn't do nothing to these Ukrainians. I didn't do nothing to all these people who receive my tax dollars. Huh? So what you talking about? And it doesn't matter, because guess what? The inherited wealth that come from slavery did not go to black Americans at all. It was passed down through white America. White America. And those whites who don't have great-grandparents who were slave owners still get to partake in a society that caters and favors them. You're going to be favored in the media, in the workforce. You're going to be far less likely to get unalived. Okay? I was just watching a video the other day of this white guy getting arrested, and this guy starts punching the police officers in the face. Some of you may have seen it. I believe it was recently uploaded. As they're trying to put him in cuffs, he punches a couple of them in the face and starts running. The cops start running after him. They call for backup. Backup pulls up. You know what these dudes, they had stun guns out. They didn't punch him. They didn't do nothing to him. They did not unalive him. Nothing. Okay? There are far more benefits that I could rat off that y'all enjoyed despite your great-grandparents not owning slaves. And again, you're not complaining about it coming from your tax dollars when it's going to other people. I don't want to hear your complaints now.
And therefore, we cannot be held accountable or should receive something.
Notice how they look at reparations as an attack on them personally. Oh, I shouldn't be held responsible. Shut up. You're not crying about paying reparations to other people right now. So I don't want to hear it. We as black Americans have been paying reparations for other people. So I don't want to hear it. Why do they act like reparations would only come from white America? What is wrong with y'all? You think y'all the only people with a job in this country? Arrogant. Y'all really do think too highly of yourselves. Thinking the world revolves around you. Y'all are not the only people with a job. And seeing that everybody who has a job is paying for Ukrainians, for illegals, paying reparations for other people. We black Americans have been paying for that too. I don't want to hear it.
Thing from something that didn't happen to us or something we did not do.
Shut up. That's your one and only pathetic, tired argument. This Charlie Kirk guy is just another white supremacist who tries to sound and come off like he's neutral, right? But when you listen to his rhetoric, he's really trying to tread lightly as a white supremacist, trying to be less overtly racist, but yet still get his racist messaging out. And for a degenerate like this to be clicked up with the President of the United States is very telling and scary. Right now, white America collectively, not all of them, are probably more racist than they've ever been. You're dealing with an extremely racist era right now. It's just in a different form. It is not expressed in the way of slavery and Jim Crow laws, whites only signs. What should be expected? Everything changes over time. And we are just in an era of difference, but the same hate, evil, racists exist. I mean, this guy, to be clicked up with the president again, is crazy.
Basically what you're saying is, I'm going to take money from Charlie Kirk for something he didn't do and give it to a group of something, to somebody of something they also didn't do. For what reason? How is that?
He's saying that we as black Americans did not experience slavery. We personally were not slaves. Again, how ignorant of a statement is it? How thoughtless. Notice how they suddenly become thoughtless. Suddenly they have no depth, no cognitive depth when it comes to subjects like reparations. Suddenly their brains don't work. Like, wow. Wow.
That just. So what is a way that we could try to help all communities? Here's maybe we can find some common ground,
Sure,
right?
listen.
Instead of reparations.
Sure.
Is that we need to break the cartel of public sector teacher unions.
A bunch of nothing. You know what I think the big reason why so many of these racists are against black Americans receiving reparations is because they simply hate seeing black people do well. They're constantly comparing themselves to us. And truth be told, these white supremacists, their ego is held up by their perceived supremacy over blacks. It's what motivates them to get out of bed in the morning. It's what keeps them feeling like someone. It fights off depression for them. Just the belief that they are superior to blacks. And I believe that is what has always infuriated them, which is why they targeted black business owners during the lynching era. That's why they targeted our businesses and BOMB'd them. That is pure hatred. And these people are sick. They are sick devils from hell. I don't have not a drop of sympathy for any of. Do you think they care when we get unalived? No, they find a microphone and talk about how we deserved it. Don't ever come to black America telling us to feel sorry when a racist, someone who was against our very existence, and against the bettering, against correcting the wrongs. Don't tell me I need to feel sorry for people like that, regardless of who you are. You got the wrong one over here. Shout out to all of you. And I will see you on the next live. Oh, no, we're not going to leave yet. We got another comment. Somebody said he brought those issues up not because he's racist. It's because he operated on facts. No, he didn't operate on facts. Yeah, Black America is facing a giant problem with broken families. Tell me what giant problems white America is facing. Huh? You probably can't even think of nothing, right? Why? Because you don't put white America under that type of microscope. You don't look at white America critically. You only look at Black America critically. That's why I don't pay any attention to these people. You can find problems in all groups. But only the sane people focus on the problems within their own group. Y'all got too many problems yourselves. This recent mass pure, that's something that y'all could be talking about, because that's a pattern in white America. Going around pewing youngsters. That's not a part of Black America. When Charlie was taken out, he was in the middle of a sentence where he was trying to ask, should we include gangsters and gang violence? Basically, should we include black? Somebody asked him, they said, what about these mass pewers? And he said, well, does that include the black gangsters? I don't think he said black, the gangsters. You know, he's talking about black people. I want to respond to that. No, we're not. Those gangsters who do these little drive-bys or whatever, they're targeting specific people. People who they know their name. They know their family. They know their friends. You want to talk about gang violence? Let's talk about it. They're usually targeting other pewers. People who have taken people off the face of the earth themselves. It's extremely personal. These mass pewings that whites do are not the same. They go out here targeting youngsters. Are you insane? You want to make that comparison, Charlie? No, we're not including these gangsters. These dudes going into schools, targeting, going into churches. Are you insane? No, that's not the same. Why don't y'all go around talking about that? The Buffalo shooting. The ones down there in Florida. I believe it was 2 in Florida. They going up into schools, and constantly it's a pattern finding their Roscoes with writings, racist writing on them, with all sick types of writing. This is a pattern in white America. There are groups fester on Reddit and other websites. Why aren't y'all talking about that as a big problem? That's why I don't respect nothing y'all say. Because it's disingenuous. Everything that comes from your community is disingenuous, where you refuse to hold yourselves accountable. You refuse to examine yourselves, period. And try to speak to us from some morally superior position. Get out of here, you brain damaged imbeciles. Y'all need to stop worshiping these degenerates. Now, you got another white person in the chat room. They said, to the person who said white America had a head start, they said immigrants came to this country at different times. In the Great Depression, immigrants came here and got handouts. Some of them came here and instantly were given land. What are you talking about? Immigrants came here and received resources. What are you talking about? Free resources. We don't get nothing. Don't compare us to no immigrants. And white America did get Head Start. We ain't talking about immigrants. We're talking about white Americans. Immigrants literally have nothing to do with white Americans. What kind of point is that? Well, immigrants came. Oh, you say whites had a head start? Well, immigrants came here and did well. And Lord. Another white person in the chat room said the Buffalo shooter was a loner, not a gang. No, he was not a loner. He was literally a part of a gang. Literally a part of a social group. And he was not the only masked pew pewer, which proves he was not a loner. What are you talking about? White Americans, white people in general, are responsible for roughly 50% of violence and homicides in this country. Them not loners. Do you know about 50% of gang members in this country are black Americans? The remaining is Hispanic and white. You got white gangs, a whole lot of them in Florida. What are you talking about? You think there are no white gangs in this country? Again, I know you don't, because y'all don't look at white America critically. You only look at black Americans critically. That's why you're so ignorant to the degeneracy in your own community. And quite often, not even aware. Are you saying that Buffalo pew pewer was the only racist white person in America? That was the root of his hostility. Being a racist. Was he the first and only racist to ever live? Yes, he was a part of a gang. He was a part of a whole social community. What are you talking about? And now, as predicted, you have resorted to ad hominem attacks. This same white person in the chat room who has been making these weak, failed arguments has just said this chat is for stupid people. And so is this history lesson. You are dumb, man. Thank you for trolling out and admitting that you lost the debate, you ignorant, low IQ degenerate. Beat it. Boy, these people are pathetic. Y'all arguments are garbage. The chat room will be free to any one of you. Before I block you, I'm going to dismantle whatever argument you leave.